good evening everyone, and welcome along to our live cook along session tonight. I'm Anna and I've worked for Juvela for many years now. One of the areas I'm responsible for is the recipe development using our mixes and some of the other products within the range. You might recognise my face, it's actually on the side of the mix boxes. So I'm really excited that we're going to be joined by guest blogger Sarah Howells this evening. Sarah is a coeliac and also a very successful gluten-free blogger, and like me, she loves food, cooking and baking. Tonight she's going to be sharing with us her recipe for some delicious gluten-free donuts, as well as chatting through her coeliac diagnosis and her gluten-free journey, which is really timely with it being Coeliac Awareness Week this week. During the session, if you do have any questions, please pop them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them all as we go along. Okay, so I'm now going to invite Sarah in. Bear with me just 1 second while I do that. Okay, I've just finished, so if we just wait for that to happen, hopefully it won't take too long. Aha, here she is.
Hi!
It worked.
We did it! Yay!
I was a little bit anxious about that, I have to say. That's my first time doing the whole live thing, so that's brilliant.
Well, that's
It
the
works.
first hurdle.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so welcome along, Sarah, tonight. Thanks so much for agreeing to be with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm very
really excited to do this. It's our first ever live Instagram session, so lovely to have you with us. Okay, I've done a quick introduction and kind of talked through what the plan is for the evening, so
Okay.
I'm now going to hand over to you. I'm really looking forward to watching you make these lovely little treats for us.
Okay, so if anyone's joining us tonight actually baking these, please comment and let us know. And the first thing I'm going to tell you to do, so I don't forget, is to preheat your oven, because it's a good idea to do that now.
Very
so
good
if you
point.
want to, yeah, exactly. I always forget to do that. So if you preheat your oven to 180 degrees, gas mark 4, and I'll talk you through the ingredients. I've just got to make sure I can like get in the shot. So I've got, and me and Anna were joking about like all this like savvy props that I might have, but I will probably be placing my mixing stuff on a kitchen roll. So we're getting high tech. I think it's just like, yeah, just the right height. So I'm going to be making some baked donuts with the Juvela white mix, which I think Anna's just shown you.
I also have one here.
Because your face is on it. She's famous.
Yeah.
So basically, this is a really, really easy baked donut recipe. So if you're baking along with me, I will show you. This is the tin that I'm using. They're like a donut tin that I bought on Amazon. But if you are baking them and you don't have a donut tin, you can just use like a normal muffin tin. Depends if you really want the holes in the donuts. I mean, you can always make them afterwards if you really want one. But yeah, so if you're using a muffin tin, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I guess if you make the if you don't have a donut tin and you want to make the holes yourself, then it kind of just makes another little donut bite, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can just cut one out with like a knife,
yeah.
And then yeah, you've got the little bit you can snack on then.
Yeah.
So if I talk you through what we're going to need for this, and then I'll show you how to make it, because it's honestly the simplest recipe. So I hope you can hear me all right, just to check, because my oven's quite noisy. Is that all good? Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. So
brilliant. Okay. If anyone can't hear me, just comment and I'll try sort of repeat anything you might have missed. So yeah, you're going to need first of all the Juvela white mix. So this is very important for this recipe. And you need 120 grams of that. And then we're going to need 75 grams of caster sugar. Don't ask me why this says self-raising flour. It's definitely sugar. I triple checked that tonight. We're going to need 30 ml of oil. I use vegetable oil. You can use something like olive oil if you want, but I find that this stuff is unflavoured, so it just kind of keeps it a bit lighter.
Yeah.
And then we're going to use some milk. So I'm just using standard full fat milk, and you can use dairy-free milk if you want to. You can use, I've done them with oat milk, almond milk, semi-skim milk, anything basically. It kind of works with everything, which is great. And this recipe is actually really adaptable if you are dairy-free or vegan. So the next ingredient you'll need is an egg, and I use 1 large egg. Now, if you are making this vegan, you can make this. I've made it before with like but you know that tinned pumpkin puree?
Okay.
Like, yeah, that works really well actually, especially if you want to make it like a pumpkin spice flavour. Or you can use like sweet potato if you cook it up and then you mush it into like a puree. That works well.
That's amazing, isn't it? All the different things you can do to.
I know, you just wouldn't. The egg. You wouldn't think that like a vegetable would replace an egg, but
no, not at
crazier
all.
things really have happened, I suppose.
Yeah.
You can also use chia seeds as well. Sorry, carry on.
Okay. No, go on. You said carry on.
I was going to say you can use chia seeds. I don't know if anyone's used them before, but you basically soak them in water and they make this kind of like gloopy mixture, which replaces the egg pretty well. And the same with flax seeds as well.
Yeah. Just to say, if you are going to make it dairy-free and vegan, our white mix does contain a small amount of skim milk powder. So you would need to use our harvest white mix, which performs in the same way. So any recipe that Sarah ever does, if she uses the white mix and you need to make it vegan or dairy-free, the harvest white mix performs in the same way, but it just happens to be free of those other ingredients too.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. There you go. Problem solved.
Yeah.
I did just see someone comment about the oven temperature. So just so you know, 180 degrees or 160 at a fan oven, if you're using that, it's generally always...
You're on that, because I totally missed that.
I just saw it flash up. And also someone has suggested using chickpea tin juice as an egg substitute, which I haven't tried yet.
No, I've heard that. I've heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's meant to be good. So, I mean, if anyone tries this recipe with it, let me know. So then as well, you'll also need some baking powder. So we'll have a teaspoon of that. Most baking powders are gluten-free, but just always double check because the occasional one might slip through the net that's not.
Yeah, I think some companies have kind of charged over the odds to call it gluten-free baking powder, but actually the one that you've got there is in all supermarkets and is gluten-free anyway. It's just in the regular aisle. You don't have to go and buy a special gluten-free baking powder.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, most supermarket ones are fine. And then just some vanilla extract. We use a teaspoon of that. And if you want to, I put in half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You don't have to. I know some people detest cinnamon, but I love it. So it's going in my donuts.
Perfect.
So I'm just going to readjust this slightly so I will have to keep moving you around tonight as I try and like
that's
fit
absolutely fine.
Everything in. So
you've got the harder job because you've got to kind of cook and show us everything that you're doing.
I forget that it crops it into a square, so I got all sap and I was like, oh, hang on, I've lost half a thing. So I'm just going to weigh out all the stuff separately. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll show you quickly. I've just literally popped my bowl on top of my scales. So I'll just put it on, and then I find that's the easiest way to just weigh all the dry stuff in one bowl. And I'm actually going to mix this up in a measuring jug. So if you've got a large measuring jug, it makes it easier to pour it into the donut tin.
Of course, yeah.
If you don't, you can just do it in a mixing bowl and spoon it in. So it's completely up to you.
Perfect.
So I'm going to first of all measure out 120 grams of the Juvela white mix. So I'll just pop that into my bowl. So you have to look at my face while I'm doing this.
That's okay. So the mix. The box of mix is 500 grams. So if Sarah's using 120 grams from that, obviously you can do the maths and realise that there's still 380 grams left. So you've still got enough mix there to make at least 2 other things. You can do a sponge cake and a batch of pastry, or you know, at least 2 or 3 things can be made out of one box of mix, which is what's so good about it. It's so versatile.
Imagine how many donuts you could make.
Imagine.
It'd be amazing. So
I guess they freeze as well, don't they?
They do.
Before you've iced them.
Yeah, you can freeze them before or after you've iced them. I think it's nicer to freeze them before and then you can bring them out and glaze them. But yeah, they're so easy to just kind of store, which is great. So I'm just adding a teaspoon of baking powder to my flour, just so I don't forget to tell you what I'm doing.
I know, sorry, that's me. Too busy. Keep butting in.
No, it's fine. You carry on. I love it. So the next thing I'm going to do is 75 grams of caster sugar, and I'm just adding this to the same bowl. So all your dry ingredients, if you're joining us, go into one bowl together. So if you haven't measured them out yet, then catch up, come on.
Yeah. Someone's just asked, would they stay fresh for a couple of days after you've made them?
It depends.
Or eaten on the day?
The thing with gluten-free stuff is it's always best eaten on the day. A lot of the stuff that you buy, like the cakes, tend to have a lot of preservatives in, so they do last longer. But I think when you're baking at home, it's nicer on the day. And with these, it depends which glaze. So if you use the maple glaze, I'll be showing you all these sort of when we bake them. That works really well to keep for a couple of days because it glazes the entire donut, so it kind of keeps it a lot fresher. Yeah, I know, it's very good. But if you are doing just like kind of the frosting or the sugar, you will find the next day they're not as fresh, but I mean 5-10 seconds in the microwave and they're like new. So I
was going to say a bit of a refresh in the microwave will work.
And who doesn't love a warm donut as well? Yeah,
exactly.
I've got to try not to eat all these when I've made them. Just adding in my cinnamon as well to that mixture. So I've got my, I'm trying to hold it up for this camera. Oh, I'm on my tiptoes there. So I've got my mixture. I'm just literally going to stir this together, just a little stir, just to kind of mix it up. And I'll pop that to one side. So if you're joining us, we've just mixed all of our ingredients, the dry ingredients together. And now I'm going to measure the wet ingredients into my measuring jug, which is where I'll put everything.
Okay.
So the first thing I need to do is, let me just check my ingredients, is 125 mils of milk. So I'm using full fat milk. I've just seen someone's comment saying how much cinnamon.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I use half a teaspoon of cinnamon. If you want it to be really strong, you can put a bit more in. If you want it to be really subtle, maybe go for like 1/4 teaspoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm using 125 ml of milk.
Okay. Someone's just asked as well, can I use free from mix of flour? Obviously, I mean, you know, these sorts of recipes may work with a mixture of flours, but this particular recipe, obviously, you've developed with the Juvela mix, so we can't kind of guarantee, really, can we, that it would work the same way with a different combination of flours.
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be fairly versatile, but obviously, like, Juvela is the best, guys. Come on, remember where we are here. Like, why would you want to use anything else?
Someone's just asked about soya milk. Yes, you can use soya milk in place.
Definitely, any dairy-free milk. I haven't found a dairy-free milk or normal milk which doesn't work with this. I think it's just having that liquid element to make a batter. So any of it's fine, lactose-free, dairy-free, whatever you fancy chucking in, basically. So now I'm adding 30 ml of vegetable oil. I always have to concentrate on this bit so that I don't accidentally pour loads in. I'm like, oh.
Someone's just asked how much flour went into it. It was 120 grams, wasn't it? Yeah.
So if we just I'll quickly recap. So we've got 120 grams of Juvela white mix, 75 grams of sugar. I also put in a teaspoon of baking powder and half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and that's all gone into one bowl, which I've mixed together just to kind of like combine it a bit. And then in my measuring jug, I've got so far 125 ml of milk, 30 ml of vegetable oil. And I'm just going to add 1 large egg, which I completely forgot to add when I did my practice run earlier. And I was like,
oh, really?
This does not look right.
Well,
so don't forget the egg.
You made a mistake in your practice run.
That's exactly why I did a practice run, because I know what I'm like.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to also add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I just find it adds like a nice sort of flavour to it. Again, if you don't like vanilla, you don't need to put it in. But I just think it tastes nicer with vanilla in, personally.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously using vegetable oil, and I think, like you said, vegetable oil is the lightest oil, so you tend to get a nice light, fluffy result. Anything like olive oil can make it a little bit flavoured and also slightly heavier.
Yeah, I think olive oil has its place in baking for things like maybe a focaccia bread or, you know, some recipes like that. But in donuts, you kind of want them to be light and fluffy. You don't want them to be too like greasy. So that's why I kind of go for something like vegetable oil. So I've got my kitchen roll prop. So hopefully, just hang on. Let me just adjust it slightly. I'm trying to make it so you can see all of it, but it's very small to fit into this.
It's really tricky.
We're almost there. So basically, I've got all my liquid in here, and really, you know, complicated step. I'm going to put the floury stuff in to this jug. So this is very precariously balanced. If this goes wrong,
I know, that's what I was thinking. It's
going to be fun, guys.
But what a really quick and easy recipe.
Yeah, it's just, I can't believe how quick it is to make baked donuts. It's just crazy.
That could be quite fatal, though, with it being so easy.
I know this is the issue, is that you're like, well, it took me like
whip those up in 5 minutes.
Exactly. I'm going to hold this so I don't chuck it everywhere. So basically, I've got a whisk. I've got my dry and wet ingredients in here, and all I'm going to do is just mix it together.
Just whisk them together. Perfect.
I feel like it should be more complicated, but I'm really sorry, guys, it's not.
But I think that's the lovely thing of demonstrating it. You kind of saying, well, look just how simple it is. Anyone can have this.
And I think as well, because like fried donuts seem like a bit of a faff, but baked donuts are honestly just so easy. And I think you think, oh God, a donut's going to be really hard to make, but it's really not. Like, all I'm doing is just mixing this. I'm just going to give it a little, hang on, a little bit of welling.
Yeah, I'll let you do that.
So you can kind of see, hopefully, that it's getting relatively thick, but it's not like, it's not super runny, but it's not really thick, like kind of solid.
It's not like a pouring batter like pancakes. It's thicker than that.
Kind of a little bit pancakey, like it is relatively thin, but I think that's what's important, to kind of make it fluff up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just...
someone's just asking me repeat the ingredients at the end, and we will do that, no problem.
And we've also, I think, Juvela's got a copy of the ingredients, I've got a copy. We've posted them in various places, but if there's any way you'd like us to kind of put those ingredients, I think they're on your website, aren't they, Anna?
They are, I think, yeah, they're on there.
Okay, so you can see that I've kind of mixed this up, and, you know, that's kind of pretty much it for the donut making stage. Like, people who are making this with me, are you still with me? Are we a bit behind? Do I need to repeat anything? Like, let me know, because I'm happy to kind of run over it again. I don't want to whiz through it and everyone's like, oh God, what do I do?
I'm a little bit behind. Oh, hopefully they're all with you.
I hope so. Hopefully that's why they're all being quiet.
Yes.
They're probably all ahead of me.
They're already baked.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's eating their donuts.
Oh, someone said yes, all good. So that's great.
Excellent. Yeah.
We're still with you. Yeah. Oh.
Look at this. Showing the donut knobs. Okay, so that now we're pretty much ready to put these in the oven. So what I was just doing now is we need to grease our donut tin, because otherwise you're not going to get the donuts out and it will just be a nightmare. So there's two ways of doing this. Now, the first way that I quite often do is just using some extra vegetable oil. So literally all you want to do is pour a little bit into the wells of the donut tin, and then just sort of wipe it around. Make sure you get it on this bumpy bit if you've got a donut tin, because you don't want it getting stuck in the middle. Yeah. Or there is a cheats way, which I don't use this for cooking, but if you've got something like a fry light spray,
of course.
Oh, it's going to save you making an absolute mess, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do, I find, because if you hold these down, they tend to go a bit squiff. So I literally hold it up and do like 2 or 3 sprays. Or maybe that's 4.
Perfect. Anything that makes life easier.
Exactly. Make sure you get it on all the bits, and then I know it looks a bit weird and white, but trust me, this will stop your donut sticking.
Yeah, and you know where it's covered because it's white.
Exactly.
Someone's asked, do I still need to grease if I'm using silicone moulds?
I haven't used the silicone ones before. I would imagine that you probably wouldn't.
No, I was going to say the same. I've used them for muffins, but I haven't used them for donuts. But I think the whole point of the silicone is that it takes away the need to do that. So I would guess you don't have to. Which is great, because then less calories, more donuts. Yeah. So I'm just going to get something to stand this on so I can show you the easiest way. No problem. If you bear with me, I have another makeshift table that I created earlier. Got a very small laptop. All about improvising. I know. I've been Can you tell I've been here all afternoon trying to stagger? I've also been doing that, moving my screen around a little bit, putting the flowers there in the background. I love it. It's a lovely setup. So just, I don't know if I missed this, how many donuts this quantity makes? Oh yeah, that would probably be helpful if I told you that, really, wouldn't it? Thought I'd missed it. So this makes 12 donuts. If you do only have 1 tin, it's absolutely fine. If you want to do half the batter, get the donuts out, wash the tin, put it back in. There's no problem. The batter will be fine just being left for a bit to do that. That's good to know, I think, because sometimes if you leave a cake mixture standing, it's not that great, not as great. But yeah, some things need to go in straight away, don't they? So let me see. I don't know if this is going to work very well, but we'll give it a good go.
So it's all right. This is very we're just
You
winging.
need an extra pair of hands there in the kitchen so that you can.
Someone said that they're just winging it with me, and you know what? I'm winging it anyway, so we're
Brilliant.
all winging it together.
Absolutely. Oh, I think you're doing a great job.
I love it. It's great fun. This is like my style of cooking, so I don't mind
Aw.
if it goes wrong. Okay, right. I'm going to point this down, so you have to say goodbye to my lovely face for a minute.
No problem.
Hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah.
I just need one more thing to put this on, and then we'll be good. Bear with me 2 seconds.
No problem at all. All good. I'll
I have
watch
a
for any
bowl.
questions and comments.
A bowl will work, I think. Right. Ah,
There we go. That's perfect.
I mean, I feel like I'm really building this up to something which is not going to be that exciting. But the easiest way to do this, I find, is if you've got it in a jug. Obviously, if it's in a bowl, just spoon it into each bit. But what you want to try and do is avoid getting too much on these bumpy bits. Because if you do that, you're going to end up with like kind of buns instead of donuts. Preferably, we want to keep the whole. So I tend to just work along pouring, but using a spoon to kind of cut off as you go, which I will hopefully now demonstrate without making an absolute mess of this donut tin.
You will. I have every confidence in you.
Oh, thank you. At least someone does. So I just will pour. This is where I find out if I balance my bowl out properly.
Yes. Oh, so far so good.
Excellent. Yep. We haven't fallen over yet. I might regret saying that. I will show you this properly in a minute so you can see exactly what it looks like. So if I just show you this quickly now. Hang on, come with me. We're going on a little journey. Don't look at the washing up in my sink, actually. Let's do this side. Okay, so you can see that. You can still see the holes on the donut rings. So that's quite important because these will rise. So obviously, if you can only see a tiny bit, you might find that your donut whole bit gets covered. Yeah. And the other thing you can do is if you do find the batter gets all over it, if you just wet your finger with some cold water and just literally kind of wipe that bit, it will kind of get that off. So I'm just going to fill up my second, hopefully without completely knocking this over, ruining all my hard work. So I'm just going to swap this, and what I'll do is I filled this up and then I'll fill up the second tin, and then extra I'll just kind of like keep going until they're all full, and they should be relatively even. It's like the perfect amount for 12 donuts. Okay. So if I swap these round.
So where did you get your donut tin from?
So I got these from Amazon actually, and they had a few options including these, or I think they do the silicone ones as well, but I found them in supermarkets more and more now. Okay. I think baked donuts is probably becoming quite popular.
Right.
And the good thing about these is I find they taste just like the fried ones when they're fresh.
So even better, slightly healthier and just as good.
And less faff as well, because you don't have to worry. I'm terribly, you know, I worry about heating up all the oil all the time and like getting the temperature right.
Yeah,
it's so easy to literally tuck it in the oven and it's done.
Yeah.
So I've just put the same amount in this tray, and I'm just going to quickly go along and just make sure they've all got a little bit more because I've still got some batter left. So again,
here's a question for you. What size egg would you use if you do half the recipe?
Oh, that is a good question.
It's tricky, isn't it, when you need
You're putting me on the spot here.
I know. I'd probably just say use a small egg.
Yeah, I think that's probably a wise suggestion.
Yeah.
And you can always, you know, if you find the mixture does go really, really, really runny, you could always put in maybe like a teaspoon of flour at a time to try and balance it out. But I would have thought, I mean, I'm using I would have thought like if you can get a small egg.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just finishing off this tray. Ooh. I think we're going to have one giant donut here that I've just poured all the batter into.
Oh, you deserve that.
I'll eat that one.
This cooking.
Well, this is the thing. My boyfriend isn't home right now, so he'll be lucky if there's any left by the time he gets back.
More fool him. He must have known this was happening.
Exactly. Yeah, he should be there, like helping me. So right, I've got my 2 tins now, and they are filled up. And someone said it can't be this simple, but I promise you,
I know,
it can. And it is. So, sorry, I just got a delivery driver. I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. So if you're all ready with me, these are now going to go into the oven, and you want to pop them in for about 12 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to quickly pop these in now, and then I'll come back and just go over everything I've done, just in case anyone's not quite with me yet. So if you just give me 1 second, my oven's just behind me.
No problem at all. Take your time.
And I'm going to pop these on the same shelf just because it's big enough. They're quite small tins.
Yeah.
Right. I've got my egg timer ready as well. I'll tell you, I've never been this organised.
Love it.
So I'm putting those in for 12 minutes and then I'll check them. So when you've got them in, you want to make sure that you don't open the oven. A lot of the mistakes people make with cakes and bakes is they get curious and you're like, oh, you know, you haven't cleaned your oven for months. You're like, I can't see through the door. I'll just have a look. And it doesn't work because then they go. So make sure that you don't open the oven until we're at the 12-minute mark and we're in this together, unless you smell burning, in which case I would probably open it.
So it's similar in the same way as Yorkshire puddings. Once they're in, do not open the door.
Exactly. Just leave the door and we will leave those to bake. So if you are using a muffin tin, you might find they do take about 15 minutes, but we want them to kind of rise up and be nice and golden. So, I mean, well, we've got 12 minutes while they're cooking. I don't know if you had any questions, Anna, that you wanted to go over, and then perhaps when they're cooked, I can go over the glazes and stuff then, if you're happy to.
I mean, just a couple of really lovely comments. Someone's just said my 4-year-old will be having her first donut ever, and someone else has just said I've not had a donut since being diagnosed 4 years ago. How exciting! So it's lovely that you're inspiring all these people to have a go. And as you say, things are so easy with the Juvela mix, and you know you can adapt it to any of your own favourite recipes that you might have used before diagnosis, can't you?
And you guys have got loads on your website. I was looking earlier actually, and I was like, there's so many recipes on here. So if you've got the mix and you don't even know where to start, then like definitely go on your website. You've got loads of like suggestions of how to use them. And
you know, so a lot of them stem from kind of ordinary recipes, and the joy of the Juvela mix is that you can just substitute traditional flour with the mix, and it's really reliable and works in the same way as an ordinary flour. Without having to add lots of weird and wacky ingredients. So
oh my gosh, somebody has just said I haven't had a donut since 1983.
Oh gosh, well I hope they're making them tonight.
I hope you're making them, and if anyone is making them, please show us how they turn out, like tag us, because I really want to see your pictures. Like it makes me really happy.
That would be great.
And they'll probably look better.
Have you ever made savoury donuts? So that's interesting. I've never.
No.
I mean, I've done like savoury pancakes and well, you know, fillings for savoury pancakes, but actually maybe there's a new one, savoury donuts.
What would you put in a savoury donut? Like send me suggestions. I need to know what to make. That sounds.
Would you just leave out the sugar and then maybe.
Or like a cheesy donut.
I was thinking cheese and onion, but quite hard to, because they're quite heavy ingredients. Maybe.
Watch some space.
That's us this weekend then, Sarah.
Savoury donut bake-off.
Someone's just said cheese.
Excellent. Okay, right. Cheese donuts coming right up on the Juvela website.
A new one. I'm thinking maybe like some pizza flavours, cheese and tomato and a bit of oregano maybe. I don't know.
Love it. Sounds amazing.
Someone's just asked if they've just logged in and will the videos be re-shown. So I know that we are going to both save them, aren't we, and share them on our Instagrams. And
I think they'll be saved on the Juvela profile, won't they? So you can watch it back.
So people can watch it again.
If you can't, then I think the ingredients were on the Juvela website as well. So it will all be there.
Okay, someone's just asked, how long did it take you to get used to the gluten-free diet? So I suppose this is a good chance now for us to grill you on your kind of celiac diagnosis and you know how you started out.
So I was basically diagnosed in 2002, I think it was. So I was about 12 or 13, and I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I don't really remember like loads from that time. I think if I was diagnosed now, I'd probably find it quite difficult, but as a kid, I guess it was almost like I subconsciously knew that those things were making me feel unwell. So I didn't really like bread, and the only thing I really liked was cereal. Like I never liked bread, I never liked cakes that much, which sounds really odd as a child, but I didn't like biscuits. so I didn't really miss that stuff. And the things that I really loved, like cereal and pasta, I remember getting actually one of my first dietitian appointments that I had, and them giving me all these like goodie boxes and like vouchers and stuff, and one of them was a Juvela one. And I remember the pizza bases, I was obsessed with those for like years. I used to get on my prescription, and I always used to eat your pasta and stuff. So like I feel like because there was so many things out there that I could eat, and I was quite young, it was an easier like adaptation for me. It might have been more difficult for my poor mum who had to cook everything, but for me I was just like, well, I'm still getting fed.
I think that's a nice attitude to have, to look at what you can still eat rather than all of the things you can't eat, because you know, once you have got your head around it, it really isn't as bad as you might think.
Yeah, and there's pretty much like a substitute for most foods now. Like when I was diagnosed, there wasn't even a free from aisle, I don't think, in the supermarkets.
No, and now it's fantastic, isn't it? You can
it's crazy. You can get so much stuff, and like there's all these amazing brands doing stuff online as well. Like you guys do the subscription boxes, which are just like, if anyone hasn't tried them, I mean, I'm guessing we've probably got a lot of Juvela fans here anyway, but I really do recommend them. And I'm not just saying that, like I love like the pasta and the cereal, and the mixes are great for baking, and it's such a good variety of stuff, and it just makes it so much easier to just have everything in one go and be like, well, I can eat all this food, and it's actually not that difficult.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, just to kind of touch on the boxes. Although we've been around for, actually someone's just said, how long has Juvela been around?
Oh, really?
So we've been around for over 25 years. And sorry, just to be slightly distracted, somebody's just asked about eating out when you're newly diagnosed. Any advice? So we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
So just if I forget. So yeah, Juvela have been around for over 25 years as a prescription brand, and then but we've recently developed the kind of the boxes to support those people who can no longer get access to a gluten-free prescription, because some areas in England have removed access to a gluten-free prescription, as you know. So the boxes, as you say, are a great alternative, and also makes our products accessible to people who may not be diagnosed with celiac disease for whatever reason, but do want to follow a gluten-free diet. So the boxes are great because you can swap and change the contents of them, and the type of box that you get, and the frequency in which you get them, you know, depending on what suits your needs. So it's all the information is on our website, and it's really easy to you know, to go on and get them. And I know that you've had some of the boxes, which is lovely. So
I love them.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they? Like,
oh my gosh, and the part-baked rolls, can I just mention the part-baked rolls? Oh my goodness me, they're so good. Like if you miss fresh crusty bread, like you just need to, well, you probably shouldn't bake them all at once, because you'll just eat them all at once.
You will just eat them.
Like they're just so, oh, they're so good. Oh, it's making me hungry.
Yeah, I know, me too. I mean, we quite often showcase those at all the free from shows, and everyone says, oh my goodness, this is like real bread. That's the resounding response is just, wow, it's like
just
real
keeping
bread.
an eye on my donuts as well. They are puffing up nicely.
Oh, someone's just said they're loving the subscription box idea, so that's great. Good to know that it's had such a good response.
Yeah.
And someone else has said you can change or cancel it any time, which we've tried to make it flexible like that, because we realise that people don't necessarily want to sign up to something that they have to then have. So we've tried to be really flexible about it.
Definitely.
So someone just said, I try to treat my gluten-free diet as a new eating experience and not dwell on food I cannot eat. Again, a lovely way to look at it.
Definitely. And I think if you are new to it, maybe a way to approach it is to say, right, each week I'm going to try something new that I've never had before. And that way you're going to find all this new food that you've never even thought to eat, that you probably would never have tried if you didn't have to give up gluten. Like I found so many ingredients, things like quinoa. I mean, I probably never would have touched a sweet potato before if like I hadn't gone gluten-free. And suddenly you're like, well, I would have eaten all this stuff anyway if I knew how good it was. And it doesn't have to be specifically gluten-free sort of pasta and bread all the time. Like, you know, you use those things by all means, but like shop outside the free from aisle and see what else there is as well.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Just noticed. So, sorry, somebody mentioned asking, will the fresh bread be in the Juvela boxes? So watch this space, because coming very soon.
Ooh,
Exciting news about the fresh bread featuring.
Look at that little... Exciting.
And another question about the harvest mix: is it wheat, oat, and milk free? Which, yes, it is. So
Brilliant.
that's great. So and so let's flip back to that newly diagnosed question. I think
yes.
The question was, any advice for someone newly diagnosed for eating out?
Yeah, so eating out, I know, seems really hard because you probably just got used to being in control of your own food, and then you're handing someone else your destiny, and it's terrifying the first time you do it, but it can be done, and there are loads of places you can eat out. You've just got to kind of know what you're looking for and what to ask. So one of the places I would start is Coeliac UK, who are an amazing charity. If you don't know about them already, get signed up to their charity. They do so much stuff, and they have an app and also a list of restaurants on their website that are all accredited by them. So it means that those restaurant staff all have appropriate training on things like cross-contamination, and that's a really good place to start. So if you are nervous about eating out, I definitely recommend looking for an accredited venue. And then as you start to branch out into other places, just don't be afraid to ask questions, because your health is more important than feeling a little bit awkward for 2 minutes.
Yeah, you should never feel like you're being difficult. It's really important that they get it right. And I think then you're educating them as well, aren't you? And that will then go on to help other customers that will come to their restaurant.
Definitely. And I think as well, just be wary if places say they offer gluten-free food. Don't just assume that that means safe for celiac. So obviously, if you're new to having celiac disease, it's not just looking at the gluten in food, but also cross-contamination. So, oh, my timer's gone off. That's exciting. So I just finished my sentence. Yeah, so basically just make sure that you're asking about like separate preparation areas, separate fryers, things like that. And yeah, just keep asking questions, and maybe ask them in advance as well. If you're a bit nervous about doing it on the night, just email them or ring them beforehand.
Just for peace of mind. Go on, we'll let you get the...
I'm going to check the donuts.
Check the donuts, yeah.
I'm very excited. So if anyone else is at this stage, you will hopefully be as excited as I am. And I'm going to get them out of the oven. So just suspense. We're having suspense here.
Yes. Suspense music.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that's answered that lady's question about the about eating out after diagnosis. But get in touch with us if you want to ask any more, and join Coeliac UK, definitely.
Definitely. Right, I'm going to give them a few more minutes so they are puffed up nicely. But if yours are like mine are still looking a little bit pale. So I'm just going to give them another 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to try not to get carried away and keep an eye on the timer. So
I was going to say, set your timer again.
Yeah, if everybody just shouts donuts at me in the comments in like 3 minutes time, that would be great. So I'm just going to give them a bit more time. I'd show you them now, but my oven is not very presentable, so we're just going to... just looking if we have any more questions at all that anyone wants to answer. Do you ever feel like people don't understand celiac disease? Yes, is the short answer to that question. It's frustrating. Not all places understand celiac. Like, it's always a good feeling when you walk into a restaurant and you ask about gluten-free and they're like, oh, are you gluten-free or are you celiac? And you think, oh my gosh, they understand, this is amazing. If you do encounter problems, the one thing I found, which, you know, it's not great for awareness raising, but I do find it helps to just say I have an allergy to gluten. I feel like, as bad as it is, a lot of places you say allergy, they get nervous, they think it's very serious, they think of imminent lawsuits, like they'll be scrubbing the kitchen like there's no tomorrow. And it's frustrating that celiac disease doesn't always have the same effect. But I do find that sometimes explaining it as a gluten allergy just makes it easier for a server who probably doesn't know what celiac disease is, and they might be more careful then. But again, it's education. Like, more and more people know about celiac disease nowadays. More and more people have heard of it, and the more we talk about it and the more we ask in restaurants, and if you ask, then the next person who comes in who perhaps might be really nervous, and that server will be like, oh yeah, I know all about celiac.
I know all about it now. Yeah, absolutely. And we can only just help to spread the word.
Exactly.
Celiac UK do some great campaigning in that respect to raise that awareness. Hence Celiac Awareness Week.
So it's just about keep asking, but I mean, you're always going to have the restaurants that don't want to cater for celiacs or aren't going to take stuff seriously. And we're, at the end of the day, I think I said this earlier this week, we're paying customers too, and if they don't want our money, we'll go spend it with someone who does want to cater for us.
Absolutely. And I think once you do find the restaurants who do cater for you, then you're going to go there. So it's win-win for them.
Yeah, just checking. I haven't forgotten. Don't worry, we've got 1 minute.
That's fine. Someone just asked about freezing the donuts. So yes, you can freeze the donuts.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody shouting donuts at me.
Any tips for getting bread out of the baking tin?
Oh.
Do you want to go or shall I?
Do you want to go while I check my donuts? Good, actually.
So I always grease the baking tins with a little bit of vegetable oil. Once your bread is out of the oven, I would just leave it to cool for maybe 5 minutes, and then just run just a knife around the edge of your tin, and then if you tip it out, it should come out no problem, as long as it's been well greased. It shouldn't be a problem coming out, and as long as your tins do need to have a really good non-stick as well. Definitely worth investing in good tins.
Yeah, I tried that with non-stick tins, and it was an absolute nightmare. You're eating bread with a spoon. It's not how it's meant to work.
No, exactly that.
Okay, guys, the donuts are out.
Exciting! Drum roll.
So I do have one monster donut, but apart from that, your donut should be looking relatively like this.
Oh, amazing! They look fantastic.
This side we have had a slight explosion of one of the donuts, but that's fine because this is my donut that I'm
no, that's perfect.
Because there's more donut.
That's lovely. So do you find that they are because they look really kind of even, and so
I'm quite proud of myself.
Yeah, you should be. That's
normally they're a lot messier than this.
Well, yeah, quite, but you know what? It doesn't matter, does it? Because you're then going to glaze them, so they don't have to be absolutely perfect. That's what home baking's all about. It's not going to look like those shop bought ones. So similarly, they look delicious.
Oh, thank you.
I agree.
I wish I could send them to you. I wish you could smell them actually.
Be careful, Sarah. People might start asking you to do that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm losing connection. What a shame. So I'm going to leave these to cool for a couple of minutes. Again, similar to what Anna was saying with the bread, we want to leave them to cool because the steam actually helps to get them out of the tin. Obviously, if you've got a silicone one, it's going to be a lot easier to pop them out. And I'm just going to basically leave them for a couple of minutes while I show you how to make the different glazes. So people baking along with me, how are we? Have we got donuts out the oven? Are they looking all right? I hope so. I feel nervous at this stage. I'm like, it's where everyone's like, oh God, they're horrible.
Yeah.
I've made them 3 times this week, so I hope they're all right.
Gosh, you've been inundated with donuts in your house.
I know. Well, you can never have too many donuts.
No.
Come on.
Brilliant. So maybe you have got enough to send to everyone then.
No. Shh. So I'm going to make 3 different types of glazes, and what I'll do is I'll talk you through quickly how to make each one. And then feel free to make all of them, feel free to make one of them, feel free to just take the donuts out of the tin and eat them as they are. It is completely up to you, but at least this way you can just see how easy glazes are. So I'm going to start off with, I think, the sugar, because that's probably the easiest one to start off with. So these are like a
Someone's just said, I couldn't wait, I've eaten one already and I burned my mouth, but it was worth it.
No, I do that every time. It's taking all my self-control right now not to scoff these donuts while I talk to you, just so you all appreciate it. So we're going to make, first of all, I'm going to do a cinnamon sugar coating. So a really simple way to do this, if you've got a Tupperware tub, is just to pop some granulated sugar in here. You can use caster sugar, but I prefer granulated because you get like a nice texture from it, like proper sugary, like bare ground donut.
Yeah, it's more crunchy, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. So for the 12, I've got about approximately 2 tablespoons of granulated caster sugar. Okay. And again, if you don't like cinnamon, you don't have to use it, but I love it, so I'm going to. And I'm just going to put a teaspoon of cinnamon in, and I knew that spoon wasn't going to fit. So I'm going to put in 2 half teaspoons of cinnamon. And I'm just going to put these into the same tub. You can do this in a bowl, but this is just a really easy way of doing it. So once that's in the tub, pop the lid on, clip it on, give it a good shake.
Perfect.
Like a maraca.
Yeah.
And then when you open it, you have got lovely, again, I wish you could smell this, cinnamon sugar.
Gorgeous.
So the best thing to do with your donuts with this is I'm going to try and get one out without completely burning my fingers, which is not working. So the best way to get your donuts out when they are ready is I'm going to try and demonstrate this to you. I'm going to put an oven glove on before I just singe off my fingertips.
Good thing. Health and safety.
Yeah, health and safety, people. So I'm going to use a knife, and this is going to be very awkward at this angle, but I'm just going to run it around the sides of the donut. Yeah. I'm going to have to do this down here because I can't hold it up and see what I'm doing.
No, fair enough.
So you basically want to do that. If you've got a silicone one, you might find it kind of pops out of the tin quite easily.
Yeah.
And this is where you find out if you've used enough oil to grease your tin, which it looks like I actually have for once. And again, if you do these when these are too hot, you might find they start to like fall apart. So it is worth leaving them for 5 minutes. I'm just being horrendously impatient. So I've got my first donut out. And I can see all through it, so that's a good sign. Again, if you have made the duffins in a muffin tin, you can cut out over in the middle if you want to. But, I mean, the more donut, the better, to be honest, for me. So what I'm going to do while I get a couple more of those out is I've just got a bit of butter, which I've popped in a mug. And I'm just going to shove it in the microwave, so it might be noisy for a few seconds, just to melt it.
Don't worry. So is this for another glaze?
So this is for this one. So what I find the best thing to do, because you want the sugar to really stick to the donuts, is we're going to melt the butter. So again, if you are using dairy-free, just use a dairy-free spread. And I'm just going to brush it on using a pastry brush, and then I'm going to dip the donuts in sugar. And they'll be amazing. Trust me.
It's amazing.
Okay, so I'm just going to pop that in for about 30 seconds, and I'll just try to pop out a couple more donuts as we go. And these are actually coming out nice and easily, so that's good.
They look fantastic, don't they?
Yeah. How is everyone getting on? Is everybody all right with their donuts? We good? Are we
hopefully all the comments have gone quiet, so hopefully that means everyone's popping the donuts out of the tins and
excellent,
getting ready for glazing.
Good. Mine's coming out quite easily now, so I would have thought if you haven't started taking them out already, you can pop them all out now. So I'll just see if that's melted.
You could tell with your tins that they've got a really good non-stick, and just to reiterate that there's nothing more important than a decent tin with really
it's worth spending the extra on than just getting like the cheapest one. I mean, I think this tin was about £10. It wasn't expensive, compared to some baking tins, but I made so many donuts, like I think I've lost count months ago. So I've just popped out a few, so I will just stop there a second, I think. Hang on, I'll just get this last one out. He's being a bit stubborn. Got him.
A phone charger because my phone is low.
Oh no, you can't lose you, Anna. So what I will talk through while you're charging up. So my butter is now melted, and I've just got a pastry brush.
Okay.
I literally pop that in the butter, and I'm just going to brush this all around. Now, oh gosh, I thought we lost you then, Anna. I was like, I'm on my own out here.
I know. So did I.
Right, she's back, people. She's back. So I have just greased my donut with the melted butter, and I'm going to literally pop it in there, give it a good whiz around. So you want to kind of circle it around, flip it over, make sure you've got lots of sugar on top as well. And then, oh gosh, I just want to eat it.
Oh, lovely.
And then, look at this. Look at it.
Oh,
like a proper seaside donut.
Look at that. That looks like a real donut. That's amazing.
So I'll just do one more quickly. So for those if you've missed it, you literally brush it on all over. You don't have to be too perfect. Just a quick brush. Whiz it around the sugar. And again, you can do this on a plate if you don't want to do it in a tub. Yeah. It's completely up to you. I'm just lazy because then I can put the lid on and keep it for the next batch of donuts.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's handy, isn't it?
Yeah. And there you go. There's another one.
Look at that. They look totally professional.
The fat, thank you. So if you want to use those ones, you could just crack on with doing that one. I'm just going to get all the sugar off my hands.
Yeah.
I'm trying to resist the urge to keep like licking my hands. Okay, so that is...
my mouth is watering now. I've not had anything to eat yet, so it's...
Oh, no, me neither. I'm starving. So I'll whiz through the others really quickly because I am conscious we have been on here nearly an hour and I know you probably just want to go and eat your donuts.
Gosh, time flies.
Time flies when you make
it. Just a written recipe for the donuts. So yes, it will be on our website. And I think you posted it on your Instagram, haven't you?
Definitely. So I'm going to quickly, next I'm going to show you how to make like a really thick icing to go on top. So if you're doing this for all 12, you want 240 grams of icing sugar. I've got half the amount because I'm probably only going to do half my donuts in this. And I'm just going to add 40, well, I'm going to add 20, but you want 40 millilitres of milk.
Okay.
So just put that straight into the icing sugar. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but that is literally all you need.
Wow.
If you want a little bit of vanilla extract, you can pop a little bit of that in as well. Again, if you don't like vanilla, don't bother. Or put a different flavour in if you fancy. And then I'm just going to mix it up. And you can do this with like a food colouring as well if you wanted to do any fancy food colourings or anything like that.
Okay, that might be quite nice for little ones. I'm sure they would like multicoloured donuts.
You could even get different colour food colourings and then swirl them together and you get like a marble effect.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah.
Now this is probably a little bit runnier than I'd normally make it. So you can have it as runny or as thick as you like. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because we've been on here a while, I won't make it any thicker because I don't remember where I put my icing sugar. And what you can't see is just absolute carnage and mayhem behind me. So I'm not even going to try and find it. But you want to just mix this up until it's nice and smooth.
Yeah.
And then all you literally want to do is get one of your donuts and then dunk it. Give it a little swizzle around.
Yeah.
Pull it out. And you've got a glazed donut.
Lovely.
And this is where you probably...
icing, isn't it?
Yeah, you might want to put a tray or a sheet of paper or something underneath the cooling rack. So I'm just literally popping all these back on the cooling rack.
Yeah.
And then what you can do with those as well is you can put some sprinkles on them, which is the best.
Oh. Yeah.
Now, some sprinkles do have gluten in, so you need to be careful. A lot of them have started to change the recipe, so you can, like, I think these are Sainsbury's hundreds and thousands, which were never gluten-free before, but now they are. So again, the Coeliac UK scanner app is really good for that sort of thing. So if you download that, if you're a member of Coeliac UK, you can scan the barcode of foods and it tells you if they're gluten-free. Now I've made this icing far too runny, so they're not sticking as well as they could, but look at this.
Oh, they look lovely, really sweet.
They're cute. So they're great for kids. Like, kids will literally love those.
Oh my goodness. And
then there's the final one, which is, this is my favourite. This is what I'm going to do on all the rest of the donuts when you've gone and I'm stuffing my face. So this is a maple glaze. And this is my favourite because you dip the whole donut in. And they make me think of what Krispy Kremes would be like, even though I've never had one.
Okay.
So I've got 220 grams of icing sugar.
Okay.
And I'm going to pour in 30 millilitres of milk. Again, dairy-free milk works absolutely fine with this as well.
Okay.
So
Someone's just asked what's the barcode for again. It's basically the Coeliac UK barcode scanner. So it's their app, isn't it, to tell you any food that's in any supermarket, that whether it's gluten-free or not. So really handy app to have when you're out shopping. It's
brilliant. And I just literally, I meet people around the supermarket because they're walking around scanning things. I'm like, I know you're a celiac. So to this glaze, I'm just going to add 20 millilitres of maple syrup. And this just, they just taste so good. My mouth is actually watering.
Yeah, same here.
I feel bad, Anna, because I get to eat all these afterwards. And you don't.
It's okay.
You have to
I've
make
got the mix here. I've got no excuse to not make them, have I?
Yeah, you know how to do it now.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just going to mix this up. And as you can see, there's not that much milk, but it is coming together quite easily. And it's going to be a relatively runny glaze, which is what we want, really. I might need to put a little bit more milk in this. Oh, just give it a good mix. I'm going to just pop a tad more milk in. So judge it, because sometimes you might find it's not quite as runny as you want it. If you make it too runny, you can just put a bit more icing sugar in. Like, you can't really mess up icing. That might be famous last words.
No.
But either way, you either add more liquid or more sugar.
Yeah.
So they're starting to loosen up a bit. So I want this to, oh gosh, I just threw milk at you, sorry. Just destroying my kitchen. So I've got this really nice kind of glaze.
Oh, lovely.
And that's like a maple syrup flavoured glaze. Like, do I even need to do anything else to sell this to you?
No, definitely not.
So we've got the donut, and that is going all in. So pop it in, flip it over. And this is, oh, it is messy, but I don't care because that makes it extra fun. And look at it.
Oh my goodness.
I can't wait to eat it.
You want to eat it right now, don't you?
I do, I really do. So again, these are great if you want to put some sprinkles on as well, you can. And again, you probably want something underneath the baking tray when you put them down on them, because they will just drip everywhere. But that's part of the fun.
But they won't take too long to set, will they?
No. So once you've done all your donuts like that, I would literally leave them for probably like 5 minutes if you can resist. I mean, if you don't mind a bit of mess, crack on, tuck in, and yeah, that is it. That is how to make little donuts.
Donuts, they're amazing.
How is everyone doing?
Hopefully, someone's asked again about the amount of milk in the batter. The original batter proofs, 120 grams of flour.
Yeah, do you want me to just run through quickly for anyone who's joining us? This will all be on the Juvela website, but I will quickly run through all the ingredients. So we had 120 grams of the Juvela white mix, 75 grams of caster sugar, 30 ml of vegetable oil, 125 millilitres of milk, and you can use any dairy-free milk if you want to use dairy-free, 1 large egg, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon if you'd like to make them a cinnamon flavour. And the recipe is really simple. Mix all your dry ingredients together, mix all your wet ingredients together, mix it all together, put it in a donut tin and bake it. And then cover it in icing and eat it. All of it.
How easy is that? No, absolutely fantastic, Sarah. That was great.
And I didn't burn anything, which I just, I'm in shock.
So your reward for that is to eat all 12 donuts after this.
Oh, definitely. This is my dinner.
Absolutely. Oh, no, and I definitely know what I'll be doing this weekend. Making donuts. I'm going to order a donut tin right now, because that is...
Yeah, do it. I really hope that everyone enjoyed that, and if you have been baking along, I appreciate you might literally be covered in icing right now and unable to type anything, but I would love to see your donuts. So if you can tag me and Juvela in any of your creations that you share, so it's at Juvela Gluten-Free and at GF Blogger, and we would really love to see them, and let me know if you like them.
Yeah, and any questions that we've not managed to answer tonight, we will get back to everyone. But if you've got any questions that you think of later, just message us or give us a call or send us an email, whatever way you want to get in touch, we can do that. Oh, someone's just said they've just ordered some of the flour on the subscription box. Yay! Thank you.
Oh, well, I can't wait to see your donuts then. Yay!
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, lovely. Some really lovely comments coming in. So hopefully everyone's now going to enjoy an evening of donuts.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it. And thank you, Anna, for having me.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Star of the show. Thanks so much.
Well.
Absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant. All right. Well, I will leave you guys here, and good luck making your donuts. Don't forget to tag us.
Bye for now.